Greetings and salutations to all of you fluffy, non-fluffy, always lovely and beautiful listeners out there. I'm going to start this podcast off by saying that I think I have made one of the best purchases of my entire life. As we speak, you may hear some chomping in the background. That is because Archie is enjoying one of his early birthday gifts. His birthday's in May, so he's been enjoying his very early gift that I gave to him. I finally bit it, and I bought an automatic cat feeder, and it is amazing. I'm not really, I'm not a huge fan of like automated stuff, as you know. No, I'm kidding. Given the past podcasts that I talked about checkouts. Anyway, but I decided to get one finally because on days when I'm gone overnight, I tend to worry a little bit. Now, normally I would put out a big, giant thing of food for him to kind of munch on throughout the time that I'm gone. But that is a grave mistake because knowing my cat, he gobbles the whole thing down, or at least as much as he can. And then when I get home, there is a nice little something waiting for me on the carpet. And I don't mean number 2, I mean number 3, to be as non-graphic as possible. It comes back, we'll say. So I have to clean that up. And after it's been sitting for after it's been sitting for a few hours, you tend to get a little frustrated time after time. So it's great. I don't know the exact brand. Actually, I do. It's right here. It's Pet Tech, which is really cool. You can control it from your phone. It's wonderful. You can also control portion sizes, which is really cool. It connects through your phone anywhere, so you don't have to be home to even do it. And it also keeps record of the feedings throughout the day. So what I really like about it is the portion control, because if he is maybe being a little erratic at night or being a little crazy, then I can just do like one singular portion, and that's like a few little niblets in the bowl. Like, it's not even a full serving. It's like maybe barely a handful in the bowl. So it's like a little snack, and that keeps him kind of level throughout the night. So I've been loving this thing to death. It is absolutely amazing. So I no longer have to worry when I'm gone overnight. I can just press that button and also schedule his feed times, and I can check the log and make sure that he's fed. And when I get home, he is well taken care of. So shout out to Pet Tech and Amazon for hooking me up with this wonderful purchase. I do not regret it. So that's my first installment here. Just because I'm excited about it, I had to talk about it. Oh, but this podcast, I have a lot to talk about. A lot has happened over the past week, and I am here to tell you about it. So sit back, enjoy, get comfy, sit where you are, find your space, find your ground, and here we go. So the first thing is, last Saturday, I got to go to Central Ohio, to Columbus, where the capital is, and we got to do our monthly gallery hop, which I've talked about this before on past podcasts. It's basically a giant fursuit parade in downtown Columbus. We call it the gallery hop because essentially we're hopping around in fursuit, and we're walking as if it's a gallery, like downtown, right? And it's not really art related. Well, art in the sense that it's living creatures coming to life, or it's plushies coming to life. But it was our first one of the year. It was finally warm enough to where we can do it. There was no snow or rain, which is even better. Temperatures were mild, about 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not bad in fursuit. Although I did feel really bad for some of the partial suitors because they were freezing. It was so cold for some of them that, well, I full suited for one thing, but for one of them, one of my good friends, who's a fennec, he's a partial suitor. I'm sorry, they are a partial suitor. Excuse my misuse of pronouns, but they're a partial suitor, and they took off their paw, and their hand was shaking. So I put my paws in between, like put their hand in between my paws, and mind you, I have a spandex glove, like a stretchy glove, underneath my paw for sweating, and I have my paw on over that. So I have two layers protecting my hand between their hands, and I could feel through the paw and through my lycra glove how cold their hands were. Oh my gosh, it was freezing for them. So I felt really bad. Thankfully, they had a pair of paws that they could wear and warm up, but yeah, even with the paw on it, their hands were pretty cold. So that's how cold it was. Um, Great interactions with the public. We got to gosh, like there had to be like 50 suitors out there. We were out there for a couple hours, just walking around Columbus as we normally do, and making the public happy, saying hi to people. I got to see a bunch of friends. I got to hang out with some friends, and it was wonderful. Yeah, I had the opportunity to go to a friend's house who was a very lovely host. Well, actually, they're a newer friend. I got introduced at the Fur Walk to them, and they got to indulge me in the wonders of mixology. And to those of you who are wondering, that is a fancy word for home bartending. They made some killer cocktails, let me tell you what. We had some dinner, we had some dessert, we had breakfast the next morning, all home prepared by this lovely friend, or a new friend. And I was kind of the guinea pig in the situation. They kept mixing me drinks, and I just kept going and going, like, here, try this, here, try this, have you tried this, have you tried that? And I was like, oh boy, this is going to end very poorly. So thankfully, I was being very, very smart about it, very cautious. Between each drink, I would take a drink of water. I had food in my system, so I did not get terribly, terribly smashed, as the kids say. I was careful. I had a relative buzz going, put it that way. I don't think I really got like too messy. I just was very buzzed throughout the night, and I think we stayed up until like 5 in the morning. So wow, yeah. And not to mention that this person also had a rave setting in their basement. They had lights, they had a whole DJ deck, they had everything. So we went downstairs and we danced for a little bit. We got to have a little get together. You know, it was really nice. So I'm really happy that that happened. I'm thankful for their hospitality, and I got to hang out with them and some other friends while I was there. So I'm very thankful for what happened. Um, I have been the guinea pig before in the situation. I have been the test subject in the situation of drinks before, and some of them have gone very poorly in the past. I like to think that over time I've become more level in that. I'm more disciplined about my intake because I know how I can get sometimes based on past events, and I know like the potentials of problems that it can cause. So I've learned from my mistakes in the past, and this time I'm very glad to say that I did not let it get too crazy. I did not let myself go too far, even with all the cocktails. So yeah, shout out to Jem for hosting and for being a lovely person and for the lovely arts of mixing. Thank you for letting me indulge you in your talents, and for making a killer rice and beef mix for dinner, and also being very gracious with the breakfast the next day. Yeah, I think like I said, we were up till like 5 in the morning, just, testing out drinks and having a great time, and just overall just being together. Ugh, sorry, I had to pause for a second because I had to sneeze. Ugh, excuse me. So anyway, that was fun on Saturday. And then the next morning, the other smart thing was I decided not to drive home that night. So yeah, thankfully they had space to accommodate, and I was able to sleep it off and go clear the next day. No problem. Had a little bit of a headache the next day, but it wasn't too bad. The drive home was smooth and fast. Didn't have to worry. And yeah, I got home and I relaxed. It was very nice, and I have to say, I'm extremely thankful that it turned out that way. So, had a great time on Saturday and Sunday. Just relaxed, recuperated, and didn't do much. Played a little bit of Dark Souls 2, which I've mentioned before is being the bane of my existence right now, and it's been absolutely a good time to recover, like after that day. So that was Sunday, and then Monday I got to do a fursuit love stream. It was the official welcoming spring love stream. So I want to thank you all, to those of you who are listening, for coming out and for supporting and being absolutely lovely and being wonderful, wonderful patrons. A lot of you donated. A lot of you were able to just like visit and be present with me, and we got to chat, we got to talk, and celebrate the coming of spring together. And it was a great time. I got to chat with a bunch of you, and we got to just have some fun and chill. And the stream went very well. So I'm thankful for all of you who came out and got to say hi and enjoy the time that we got to spend together on YouTube stream. So thank you for all of your support, for all the donations, for all of the lovely comments, the beautiful the beautiful messages that you all sent to me, and just for being there. I feel like I say it a lot, but at the same time, I don't think I say it enough. Like, you all have done so much for me, and these streams that I get to just sit and chat with you are some of the highlights of my month. I get to do this once a month, and when it does happen, it never leaves me without a smile. So thank you so much, everybody, for just being the best audience, supporters, lovers, friends, family that I could ever ask for. You all really make this Kitty Fox's life, and you make my day every single day, and that stream definitely proves it. And in addition to that, there was another video that went up on my channel. Now, I will pop a link in the description. You can watch the whole thing. It's a 2-minute, like, goofy little video that I did of just me messing around in fursuit in front of my Nest Cam in my house, because I have a little home camera for security reasons. But I was sitting there on Sunday night, and I was thinking to myself, I got to make a video, and I don't really want it to be anything like that is the norm. I kind of want to do something kind of silly. So the idea just popped in my head. Why don't I put on my suit and just act absolutely aloof in front of the home security camera? And that's what I did. I hooked it up and suited up, and then I put on night vision mode. So you'll see it in the video. I look like an Arctic fox, right? And it was a goofy little video. And let me tell you, it has been doing very well. So all of you seem to be enjoying it. You seem to be sharing it nicely, and I want to thank you for that as well, for showing all of your support on that video. As goofy and silly as it is, just if you haven't seen it, go enjoy it. It's a good little time. It's a nice little 2 minutes of your life that I think will make you smile. With that in mind, I do want to talk about something that happened at my job that has to do with this video. So one of my coworkers, very lovely individual, she has been just an absolute dear and a huge help and just a wonderful addition to our team. I thought it would be kind of funny if I showed her the video of me. And as I'm talking, I'll show you a clip of the video right here as I'm talking about it. But that's basically for editing Sammy later to pop in the video into the podcast here. But yeah, you'll see it on the screen here. I showed her part of the video and I was like, hey, you want to see something funny? And she's like, okay, sure. So I showed her the video, just like 10 seconds of it, of me just goofing around in front of the Nest Cam. And she was looking at it because she knows I go to conventions. She knows that I do things like this, but she doesn't really know about the furry thing. And I thought it would be a cheeky little thing that I could do just to, have some fun. Because at this point in my life, I'm like, you know what? Who cares? Who knows that I'm a furry? I don't really care anymore. I'm not gonna advertise it, but at the same time, who cares? So I show her the video that you're seeing right now, and she looks at it and she starts laughing, like kind of nervously, chuckling. She's just kind of like, oh. And then she goes, oh my. And I'm like, what? And then she looks at the video and then she looks at me. And I kid you not, the words that come out of her mouth next are, you're not going to have kids for a very long time. No kidding. I'm showing her this video and that's what she says. She's just looking at it and then she looks at me all concerned. Like, it's the way she said it and the look of concern on her face that just killed me. You're not going to have kids for a very long time. That's what she told me. So I'm showing her this video and I'm just dying laughing. I dropped my phone on the desk and I like put my head on the desk because I'm laughing so hard. And I'm just, she killed me just by saying that. And then she starts laughing and then my other coworker comes over. He starts laughing and we're all laughing about it. Oh my gosh. And that was probably the best line I could have heard as a reaction to that video. Oh my gosh. And she would be right. She's probably right. I don't know. She's I should clarify, she is middle-aged, and she also has two kids of her own. One of them, her oldest being about the same age as me. So she's a little older. But speaking out of concern as a mother, and in that moment, it just was perfect. It was the perfect concoction of just a burn, a roast, concern, everything about it. Just, yeah, I was almost on the floor laughing. Oh my gosh. And I could not stop for a good 10 minutes. I couldn't contain myself. Whew, man, I can't believe that. That's not what I was expecting to hear at all as a reaction to that video. But again, maybe she's right. Maybe she has a point. So, oh gosh, yeah, it kind of reminds me of those memes. Some of you probably are familiar with the meme. It's like the NPC face. I think it's not the NPC face, but it's like, you've seen these memes where it's like, my parents at 22, and then it shows, let's have a baby, and then the dad, I guess, is responding, yes. And then it shows the next panel underneath, and it says, me at 22. And I just pictured that video that you just saw on the screen of me just messing around in front of the camera. Me at 22. It's just me messing around in front of the camera. I'm like, yeah. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. Oh, that's what popped in my head. Maybe that's what made me laugh so hard, was just the thought of it being that reality of, yeah, these were my parents at my age, and now here's me at my age. Things have changed quite a bit since my parents were in their 20s. So, I was absolutely punch drunk from that. Oh, man, just everything about it. You can't replicate it. Like, it was too good, and never in a million years could you replicate a moment like that. Man. So, that was Monday. Tuesday was a little more interesting. Yesterday, at the time that I'm recording this, Tuesday was more interesting because, well, this will bring sort of the main point of this podcast, kind of like full circle it, if you will. As you all know, I like to talk about the human condition, behavior, and all that, and like how people react in situations and how you can make things like basically Stoic philosophy, talking about it's not the thing itself that is your problem, it's the reaction, it's your reaction to that thing that matters the most. So I'm going to set the stage as respectfully and as kindly as I can, because I don't know the full situation. I don't know like the extent to this person's reaction, shall we say. But basically, yesterday, one of my coworkers, one of the stronger coworkers on my team, who is a huge asset, like huge help, they take things on, they get things done, they just absolute just killer at their job, and they have the same job that I do, mind you. We're equals. We're peers in this scenario in my department. Um, Basically, this person halfway through the day yesterday just up and walked out. Now, I want to clarify, we haven't had many walkouts at my job in general, like in any department or any, like least of which my department, right? So it was a bit of a surprise, a bit of a shock, considering the situation. Like I said, I don't know the fullest extent. I don't know the reason for their walking out, but the entire day from the start of the morning to, I would say, lunchtime, they're in like around noon-ish. They just they they just walked out, and when they talked to me, I was looking at them like they were telling me, okay, there's this, there's this, there's this. Could you take care of this for me? Yeah, sure. Um, and I was like, why? And then they just looked at me with very emotional. They look like they were emotionally distressed, right? And they said, I'm not staying, I'm going home. I'm like, okay. And I didn't press further because I didn't want to, impose anything. I didn't want to overstep. But when I saw their face, like when they were telling me this, that they were going to go home, I just was floored, really taken aback. Like, oh my gosh, like you look like you're about to burst into tears. Like, again, I don't know what happened. I don't know if something did happen. I don't know if there was more to the story. But yeah, they look like they were about to have an emotional break in that moment. And I was very concerned. I'm like, I wanted to ask them, like, is there anything I can do? Are you okay? Like, how can I help? And I did, you know, I asked them if they needed anything else, and they said no. Um, just just know that like this stuff still needs to be done, and I got this done. I'm like, okay, well, have a good day, I guess, And then they left, and I was confused, but I went back to doing what I was doing. And about 30 seconds later, my manager comes walking out of his office, and he goes, "Did they leave?" I was like, "Yeah." And then he said, "Why?" And I was like, "What, they didn't talk to you?" And he was like, "No, they didn't. All they said was they came into my office and they said, I'm going home." And that was it. And my boss, being the manager, the good manager that he is, tried to ask, like, are you feeling sick? Is there anything that you need? Like, what's going on? But they didn't even give him a chance to respond. They just walked in his office, said, I'm going home, and then left. Like, as my boss was trying to get answers to the questions, didn't get any answer, just walked out. And then my boss starts asking me, like, did they say anything? Did they seem like there was a problem? I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I just work here. Like, it's a little above my pay grade. And he was like, okay, yeah, fair enough. And then he got really like concerned, and he was like, well, this is not the way to handle this. Like, that's not just something that you can do. Like, there has to be steps. Like, you need to either like take a sick day, you need to like, do you like submit time, that kind of thing. Talk to your HR manager who's on site, and then we'll move on from there before you can just up and walk, right? And I was like, well, that sounds like something you need to discuss with them and discuss with human resources. And he was like, yeah, you're right. So he went up there, talked to human resources, and long story short, um, that coworker has not been back since yesterday at the time that I'm recording this. They weren't back today. They left yesterday, and I don't know what to make of it. I truly don't. Um, I'm not going to go too far into this person's psyche. I do know that they do struggle internally with a lot of things, but what that is, I don't know. It's not my place. Um, though I will say, just from my perspective, and this is only my perspective, so take this with the biggest grain of salt that you can find. But it seems like a lot of what they were distressed about and the reason that they left is honestly self inflicted. And this is speculation, so bear with me. But over the past few months, there's been a lot of talk from them about, how much they can't stand this job, how much like they can't stand management, and et cetera, et cetera. You fill in the blanks. And I was like, okay, well, you could try talking to them. Like, I don't know what else you can do. If you have concerns, then take them to the management team, take them to human resources. And it just seemed like yesterday was just a boiling point for them. Like they just got too hot and they were about to explode, right? And a lot of us are kind of standing around like, yeah, this job can be frustrating. Yeah, there are elements to this job that are not ideal. There are things about management that could be better. There are things about, I guess to use a not so great term, processes in place that could be better. But in reality, that's any job that you go to, any job that you have in your life, any place you go to work. There's always going to be flaws. There's always going to be imperfections, and there are always going to be scenarios that you can't control. The only thing that you can control is your reaction to them, is how you approach these situations. And it really got me thinking, like, about way back when I started this job. I'm just past 3 years working at this place, coming from a church job, so two different worlds entirely. And I think back to the person who trained me at this job, this current job, and he said to me these fateful words, and that I still try to live by to this day. He said, listen, don't let this job get to you. Don't let this place get to you. Don't let this area of your life control your life. It is just a portion of your life. It's something that you do to, reap the fruits of your labor, to earn a paycheck. That's really all it is. And I agree. It is a job. To me, it's just a job. It's not a career. It's not something that I want to be doing the rest of my life. Right now, it is a season of life, and it's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone that happens to pay decent. I won't say it's competitive or anything, but it's a decent living. I can get by with it. I can live on my own. I can go to furry conventions. I can, get stuff that I need. I can take care of my cat, my friends, and my family. So it may not be the most high paying job or the most ideal situation, but it works right for right now. It's a time that I have that I need to value, as hard and as frustrating and as sometimes complex and complicated as it can be. It's merely a season. It's not the end all be all. And to this coworker who walked out, I told him the same thing. Like when they started, when I trained them, because I trained them about a year ago, I told him the same thing that my trainer told me. Don't let this place get to you. Don't let the job get to you. Just do your work, clock out, and go home. That's all you have to do. And they were very receptive. They're like, okay, well, I can consider that. And so we had a good conversation out of it at the very beginning. But it seems over time that this place has gotten to them. It seems over time that this job has gotten to them. And that's a really sad thing, because not only is it sad that they kind of let the job get to them, but they don't, when they don't heed your advice, it really puts you in a bit of an emotional bind. Like, well, I told you, I told you that this thing could happen. So just you got to be careful with it. So, and that leads me to the overall point of this, as kindly and as respectfully as I can talk about it. We oftentimes look at our situations and we ask how they can be better. And of course, we all want better situations out of our lives. It's no problem there. If you want to move up in a job, or if you want to get a career or go to school or whatever you want to do with your life, it's good to have those ambitions and those goals to do better and to have better and to make things better for yourself. But with the hand that you're dealt, right? The hand that you're dealt currently, whatever that may be, wherever you find yourself in life, how you see it is how it's going to be. So if you see this situation that you're in as something that is distressing, that is, constantly trying your patience, that maybe you feel like you're inferior, maybe you feel like you're not paid enough for what you do, whatever the case may be, you know, you got to take it as it comes. Take it as it is, not as you want it to be. As much as we want to change people, and as much as we want to change a job or a situation, sometimes those situations, those jobs, those things or places that we find ourselves in, they're not going to change for us. And that's just the fact of life. Like, you can't make it revolve around the way you want it. Like, yeah, maybe you had management experience. Maybe you've been in another job where you feel like you could change things. And it's okay to be the change. It's okay to be that change and to be that person that finally stands up and says, this isn't right. We need to change this, and et cetera, et cetera. But the job, the place, the situation, whatever it may be, it's not going to change overnight. Heck, it might not even change in 5 years, right? However you want to see it, it's not going to change just for you, you know? You definitely have to sometimes take it on the chin. Or as my trainer told me those many years ago, roll with the punches. As cliche as that sounds, you got to roll with the punches. You just have to, and that's with anything in life, because there are going to be things in our lives that are not going to work out in our favor. And in order to roll with the punches, you have to figure out a way through it. You have to figure out, okay, well, in this situation, how do I react to it? How do I deal with it? How do I make it better internally? How do I make peace with something? Because those are things that are going to save us a lot of grief and a lot of anguish and a lot of anger. And if we're not careful, it can get to us. I'm not going to sit here and say that, it's our fault or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is those reactions of frustration, anxiety, stress, anything, any negative emotion or reaction to something is a very human thing to do. It's a very natural thing to us to often go with the negative and to take things in a very, I'm trying not to repeat words here. It's a very human thing to resist. I think that's a good word. It's expected. It's a natural reaction for us to want to resist situations. Now, don't get me wrong. Resistance can be good in some contexts, like, especially when it comes to, I don't know, I guess, like propaganda, like that kind of thing. Like any social situation like that needs change, it's good to resist on some level. It's good to resist when something is clearly not right and you stand up for what's right. That, in that context, I can see it being resistance be a positive thing. Like, if it's positive change for the better, or if it's a moral change for the greater good and for something that is morally right, making a moral wrong thing to something morally right, then resistance can be a good thing. But at the same time, in order to get there, You have to roll with it. You have to roll with the situation and the hand that you're dealt in order to get to where you want to be, right? Like, for example, great example, if you're in school right now, or if you're in a job that requires a lot of training or um, a lot of learning, a lot of, I don't know, a lot of like self molding, if you will, those are the times that shape us. Those are the times that are going to define us the best. Because in order to get that degree, you have to go through tests. And the tests are hard. In order to get in that job, you have to go through training. And that training is hard. In order to get that position, you have to go through all of the trials and all of the tribulations and all of the requirements that get you to that place, right? And those are the things that honestly suck sometimes, right? Let's be honest. Like, exams suck. Training can suck sometimes because you might be stuck with someone that you're not particularly vibing with. You might have to do some hard things in order to get to where you want to be in the future. So, that being said, no great deed, no great accomplishment has ever been achieved without hardship. And I think that can be applied in this situation with my coworker. You're going through hardships. I get it. You have things in your life that are not ideal. I get it. You're going through this job and you're going through these trials at your job that are causing you grief and anguish and stress. I get it. I've been there. Trust me when I say, and I doubt my coworker will ever hear this, but if I were to speak directly to them, I would say there have been times, to contrast, there have been times in that job, this current job, that I have been through, I'm just going to say, a living hell. Okay? For example, before my current manager came on staff, I had a previous manager who tried his best to make my life a living hell. And he succeeded sometimes in doing that. And at the time, we had a skeleton crew. Like, it was not even, it was like a bone marrow crew. It was so small. And yeah, we had someone on medical leave. It wasn't great. And this manager, like this former manager, did everything that he could to push me around, to push my buttons, to make me look like a fool, which he did a couple times. And I am going to be very honest, I was like not even a millimeter of walking out the door. I was within a millimeter of walking out the door. In fact, it got so bad, and this is some years ago now, but it got so bad to the point where I marched myself in an emotional rage up to the operator, excuse me, the operation manager's office. I walked in his office, I shut the door, and I said, "We need to talk." And I basically spilled my entire, like, all of my guts out on his desk. And I told him what was going on, and he was like, "Listen, just hang in there. Just a little bit longer, please. I need you. Hang in there just a little bit longer. Trust me when I say something is being done. It's going to be okay." And just hearing that from him in that moment, it calmed the absolute crap out of me. Like, I felt a lot better because I voiced my concerns. So that's another thing, is if you're feeling in that moment, or in a moment at your job or at school or whatever, there's people that you can talk to. There's people who care, even if it seems like they don't, or if you feel like maybe whatever you say isn't going to do any good. Trust me when I say, you'd be surprised sometimes. There are people you can go to in a school setting. There's if you're in high school or if you're in college, whatever, there's people you can talk to. There's academic advisors, there's principals, there's teachers, there's you know, there's fellow peers, you know. And in a industrial job or professional setting, there's human resources. There's, you know, managers above your current manager. Like, let's say your manager's, you know, kind of a jerkwad, and what do? You go above him, or them, or him, or her, or whoever, and you talk to the person above them, and that's there at your disposal. Like, as hard as it may seem to get to that point, they are there for you to help you. And, like, I don't know what your situation is. I don't know where you may be struggling with that. If you are struggling with something similar, I certainly hope not. But that being said, there's people who care, and there are people who are willing to help you. All you have to do is speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up, even when you feel like it's not going to do any good, because you never know what change will come of that. You might be the one person who changes things for the better. You have no idea. But with the right amount of, like, if you just let your pride drop, let your pride down, you know, don't let yourself fall because of your pride. Just let your pride down and talk to someone. Voice your concern. Say something, because it's going to do wonders, I promise. So that was interesting. And that's kind of what I got from that whole situation is the coworker walking out is just, you know, give yourself time. Let yourself breathe, take some minutes, talk to someone if you need to, or if you know that you have to, and ask yourself, how can I respond to this situation that's going on right now? It may take some time. It may not be ideal, but something can always be done. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's going to be okay. I promise. So, um, I have a few other notes here. Um, oh, I do want to mention I did go to my parents' house tonight and it was a lovely time. And I'll get into a little bit of a story here real quick because I'm getting short on time here. But one of the things that happened tonight was there's a bit of a flip flop that happened tonight. Usually, when I go to my parents' house, if both of my parents are there, I usually hang out with my mom. Like, I'm helping her with chores, I'm helping her with the dog, I'm doing things that she needs to get done. But this time it was the opposite. My mom was like beat tired, like just exhausted, and I hung out with my dad. And I don't get to do that very often these days. I don't get to spend time with my dad very often because he travels for work. He's a busy guy, he's not often home when I go and see my parents. But the times that I get to spend time with both of them is a blessing all in itself. But yeah, this time I got to spend time with my dad and it felt really good. Um, One of the things that he was very gracious enough to do was he left me a couple things. Over the weekend, he saw his stepmom, my grandma, and took her out for her birthday, which is really cool. So happy birthday to grandma. He brought home a couple things, and he asked me if I wanted them. One of the items was an old-fashioned shoe shine kit. It had all the fixings inside. Really cool. It's a little box that it's got the little shoe nestle on it, and it's got like shoe polish and brushes and all kinds of stuff inside. I'm really excited to use it. It's like an official, like old school wooden shoe shine box. Love it. It's a beautiful artifact, and I'm glad that she had that. And she actually she requested to my dad that it be given to me because she knows I like that kind of stuff. So shout out to grandma. Thank you for the gift. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to use it and see how it turns out and get some shinier shoes for Sunday. In addition to the shoe shine box, she gave me something that could never be replaced. So about a year ago, a lot of you have heard this by now, if you've been following me for a bit. About a year ago, my grandfather, my dad's dad, passed away from complications from surgery. Just a quick recap, he had some issues with he's had back issues for a long time, like over 10 years now. And the surgery was corrective, and it was something that he never healed from fully. It wasn't medical malpractice or anything like that. In fact, the surgery was deemed successful. His body just couldn't take it anymore. Like, he couldn't fight, to heal anymore, and he just he gave up the ghost. That was the unfortunate thing about it, but thankfully it wasn't sudden. It was his time. He was It was surgery, and then he never fully recovered. In fact, he succumbed to the he succumbed to the reality of it. You know, like I said, there were no complications. His body couldn't handle it, and he couldn't heal. So, no fault to the doctors or the surgeon or anything like that. It wasn't them. There was no issue there. It was just the fact that he wasn't strong enough to heal, and he went home to heaven last February 2024. So the additional item that I got to the Shine box was his retired Army veteran hat. Now, a lot of you, especially if you live in the U.S., will see these around sometimes. You'll see some older men and women wearing these hats that say Army veteran, military veteran, Vietnam, World War II, if you're lucky enough to see that, hats. And they have like a rank on them. And my dad was like, if you want this hat, you can have it. I'm like, absolutely. So I have my grandfather's retired Army hat from when he was in the service. And that was a beautiful gift. I'm going to cherish it for as long as I live. And I just feel absolutely honored to have received that. Like, I didn't know what to say, honestly, when he said, if you would like it, you can have it. And, you know, that was his dad. So, like, the fact that my dad is telling me that I can have it is a huge thing already. So, yeah, it is, as of now, displayed on my shelf proudly. And I will keep it, and I will hold on to it for as long as I can, because that right there is an artifact of my grandfather that can never be replaced. So, you know, it's been over a year now, but Grandpa, I still miss you. Life is just not the same without you, and I just want you to know that I'm absolutely honored to have had you as my grandfather. You know, you served in the military, you were talented in so many ways, especially musically, and Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, holidays, and life in general just will not be the same without you. I still miss you, and I am just so honored to have received this gift from you, even though you're gone. Yeah, I just want to say that I'm very appreciative of it. So thank you, Grandma, for supplying me with that. Thank you, Dad, for allowing me to have this gift. And I'm gonna look at that every day that I walk by, going out the door, and I'm gonna feel a sense of pride and a sense of love and something, remembrance that cannot be replaced. So I'm really thankful for that. In addition to the having the gifts from my father and my grandmother, we got to do something tonight that I thought was one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. So, a lot of you know, I've talked about this before. My dad used to work at Camelot Music. It was one of the biggest suppliers in the USA and abroad of vinyls, cassettes, videotapes, you name it. Like, they were a music store that had everything from, like material music needs. And he started off as an associate, and he worked his way up all the way to corporate. He was one of the top dogs in Camelot Music. And unfortunately, Camelot has closed their doors since the 90s, so it is no longer a thing. But they were, at one time, the number one music store in the USA. And my dad was one of the higher ups in that chain. And to this day, he's still proud of it. We got to sit down, and this might date me a little bit, but we got to sit down and we got to pop in some VHS tapes of some of the original promo videos, like promo, training, commercials, you name it, like, of Camelot Music. And we're just sitting there watching these commercials that they made back in the 80s and 90s, and they were all on these tapes that my dad just had stored away. And we got to just sit there and just hang out and just watch, like, and my dad's like telling me all these stories, like, yeah, I helped produce this, and I came up with this, and this marketing campaign that they're talking about in this infomercial for Camelot, I came up with that. I did this, I did that. And like, just hearing him just go on this nostalgia trip, and just watching these videos of these promos and everything was just awesome. Like, the fact that my dad had played such a big part in this industry, in the music industry in general, but also in the number one supplier of musical material needs, like, it was so cool just to hear him like tell stories. And we're just sitting there watching just all these legends on screen. Like, he was telling me, and he's told me stories before, but like hearing him talk about how he met celebrities. He's met, like, for example, he's met Ozzy Osbourne. He got to be a bodyguard essentially for Barry Manilow. He would get backstage passes to concerts because he was like a top dog in the music industry. And like, he met all these just prestigious people. I think he met like Paul McCartney's road manager one time. He met and had dinner with Sting. Yeah, of the Police, Sting. And yeah, just like, we spent the entire night as my laundry was spinning in the machine. Um, we got to have dinner and just watch these unbelievable, like, old school videos of Camelot, and just hearing him tell stories about that time and how beautiful and amazing it was. I just sat there as we were watching these, and I looked at my dad, and he's like going on and on about these stories, and I'm just listening to every word and just looking at him. I'm like, man, that's my dad. He got to do this stuff. That is so cool. Like, this is even before I was a thing. Like, he worked for, gosh, like 20 plus years in this industry, and just sitting there watching him and listening to him, smiling and just thinking, this is my dad. Like, he got to do all this stuff, and he is, oh man, like, it really gave me a sense of just love, even greater love for my dad, watching him and listening to him tonight tell stories. And I'm I've said it before, but like, my dad is one of the biggest role models I've ever had, if not the biggest role model in my life. The greatest dude that I know and that I will ever meet. One of, like, probably the greatest inspiration in my life. And he's also the reason why I have such a diverse music taste. Like, he turned me on to so many bands and groups, and like I'm pretty sure he's one of the sole reasons for my love for music. Like, he taught me to play guitar. He taught me about music theory. He got me into all this stuff that I love so much, and I credit him almost solely for, the absolute gift that music has brought into my life. And just having that time with him tonight, it was so beautiful, and I'm so thankful for it, and I'm just so proud to call him my dad. I love him so much, and he is one of the greatest gifts that I have ever had in my life and still continue to have. So I'm very blessed to have him as my dad. So I don't know if you'll ever hear this, but if you do, I love you, and you're the greatest. You are the greatest in my life. So thank you for being in my life, and thank you for being my dad. Um, I think with that, that's gonna end it. I did have more to talk about, but I think I'll save the rest for another time. Um, Not only because we're short on time, but also because I think that's a good way to end it right there. So I just want to encourage you all, if you have parents in your life, if you still have your parents in your life, just tell them that you love them. As hard as it may be. And I don't know what your situation is. I don't know how they treat you. I don't know, like, what you're going through with your parents, if anything, in your life. But if you can, and if you're able to, I highly, highly encourage you. Tell them now. Tell them that you love them. Say thank you for them being in your life and for raising you. And I'm going to let you know that it goes a long way when you tell them that. Like, they, I think I can speak for many, not all of us, obviously, because again, I don't know your situation, but they put so much effort into raising you and to making you the person that you are today. So Yeah, I'm so grateful for mine, and I'm so grateful that they're still in my life. And though we have had rocky times in the past, trust me, I can tell you a million stories of times where I was an idiot, I was a dumb teenager, I was this, I was that. And, there have been times where my parents have not been fair to me, likewise. But you know what? Coming to this point in my life, I'm realizing that time is short, life is short, and they're getting older. Like my parents are both in their 60s now. That's a crazy thought to think about. Like, yeah, they're getting up there in age, and I'm starting to fit into the role of the caretaking son, and I'm starting to realize that my role has changed, from them raising me all those years and, finally moving out and getting my own place and starting my life, and them still being supportive, even all the craziness and the things that I do year after year, even if they don't fully understand it, they're still there and they still love me and I still love them very much. So if you can, I encourage you, please tell them that you love them and tell them that you appreciate them. Thank them for being in your life and for making you the person that you are today. So, on that note, I will leave you with that. And I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you for indulging me on this silly, funny, and, just overall emotional roller coaster that this podcast was. But we leave it with a smile and we leave it with contentment, because if we don't have contentment in life, then what are we striving for? Let's strive for contentment. Let's strive for, betterment of ourselves as much as possible. And whatever that looks like in your life, I hope that it is for the better. I hope that whatever you have to go through in your life, to get where you want to be, that it is worth it. And even if you go down a path for a little while that seems to be the right path, and then you find a roadblock at the end, you can always turn around and start again. It's going to be okay. I promise. So, as usual, don't forget the phrase, sic Parvis Magna. Remember your greatness from small beginnings. Remember those who started you out, those who brought you up and continue to stand by you today, like parents. Never forget that even from the beginning of your journey to where you are now, there has been greatness there the whole time. You just got to find it, and sometimes you got to make it. And in the same way, don't forget, always be you, be yourself. Don't let anyone ever tell you who you can or can't be or what you can and can't do, because it's not for them to say. Remember that there has never been anyone like you in this life. There has never been anyone like you in the past. There won't be anyone like you in the future, and there's no one like you right now. The world needs you just as you are. So show the world what you're made of and who you are. And only you can do the things the way that you can, the way that you do best, and no one else can replicate it. So, in the same way, thank you for letting me live this dream every single day. I wouldn't be able to be here without any of you. And the fact that you all are here, being so supportive and loving in every way that you show, it means more than the world to me. Absolutely. And I'm forever in your debt. I can never repay it, but thank you for being here. So until next time, this is Samson Kitty Fox. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I love you all so much. And I will catch you in the next episode. Bye. Bye-bye. Love you. And meow meow.